Well, Happy New Year. This is Happy Valley Hobbies, and these are hobbies that make me happy. And I think we are live, recording from Arlington, Vermont. Unfortunately, my computer hard drive is pegged at pretty much almost at 100%, and that usually causes issues. So hopefully that is not the case. Finally, let me do the live chat portion. Let's see now.
Let me do the live chat portion.
There we go. YouTube is up and running now. Oh, hello, Harry the Real Fan. Thank you for coming in. Right now, it seems that my hard drive is around 100%, and unfortunately, that winds up causing issues. Right now, the main issue is my live camera. The monitor is flickering for some reason, but it looks like it's not flickering on YouTube, so that's a good sign. Basically, people should be wandering in soon. I do 6:45 to 7:45. Sort of. What are we doing today? That is a good question, Harry. I think the main thing today is starting off with doing the road bed for the diorama. I did come across some other possibilities and all that, but right now I'm trying to focus on getting things done before starting a new project. I already have a lot of projects, but it's one of those things of it's nice to be able to actually, slowly start checking them off, going like, okay, I'm not done with this. I'm done with this one. Last night I was watching Derailed Daryl and showing that he had made a shadow box for apparently his workplace. Probably won't go that nuts and all that, but possibility is maybe coming up with a small little shadow box layout, like a small little ingle nook to carry around. I already have sort of an inner nook idea that I've been posting around and all that, but I never actually put it together. Actually, I got the silly thing right here that's made out of, sort of a ingle nook using oh, hello there, Dwight from Curly Express. But this is made out of very heavy OBS about a piece that I wound up getting a couple of years ago. So I'm actually thinking of redesigning it so it can actually turn around and use maybe lighter materials and all that. And then now, because of Derailed Daryl, think about making it as a shadow box. Also not feeling too well. But for those who've been following my ramblings about work, I now have a new boss, and I'm half training him because my former boss, he was in charge of shipping and receiving. The new position is shipping, receiving, and the warehouse. So I'm training basically my half of the portion of the shipping and receiving, and then he'll learn on how to do the warehouse part of it also. We seem to be getting along pretty well, but he does say that, well, right now it is the honeymoon phase, which is understandable, to try to put your best foot forward. I haven't seen him in a bad mood yet, but then again, he hasn't seen me in a bad mood yet. Exasperated, but not in a bad mood. Sort of all my other coworkers that are higher, the higher ups, basically, they're like, why isn't this done? Why isn't this? It's like, I haven't gotten there yet. We're getting there. That's what the plan is, but we haven't gotten there yet. Of course, they want everything right that second. And it's like, it's one of those things of pretty much almost everything gets done, but it's not done quick enough for them, which, well, that's sort of the whole thing, I guess. But things are starting to look up. I'm not as the newer guy is picking up stuff a lot easier than the last guy I have trained. It seems that it's going to be, probably a little bit smoother as soon as he gets more and more into it. I feel that he's a lot more consistent than the last guy. There's times that the last guy, it's like, yep, he got it perfectly and all that, and then next day it like flies right over his head. It's very inconsistent. So when you're inconsistent, it's very hard to identify the problem. The newer guy, he seems to be very consistent. So it's one of those things that once he realizes what he's not doing properly, I have a feeling that he'll turn around and make the appropriate corrections. Plus, it's only been 1 week, so it's one of those things of a lot of times he has to go and like, hey, I've only been this, this is only my X number of days doing this, a new guy, give me time. But it's unfortunately a lot of places it's you're supposed to be plug and play. Why you're not plug and play? It's like, each company does this thing specifically differently. And if somebody hasn't worked there before, of course, they're not going to get everything perfect right off the bat. I would have to say one good thing is one thing that the previous guy did get correct is that he sent everything to the right address. So the it got to where it was supposed to go. The problem is that the billing side of it, he kept on, sometimes he would bill us, sometimes he would bill somebody else, like, or he would build a third party that has nothing to do with, with the customer and all that. So that was, it was basically, as soon as this guy got on there, it's like, yeah, we're going to pull this guy off completely. We don't want him to do anything. It's like, but that's how that is. But yeah, I am not feeling well today. So expect coughing, some, just not feeling very well today. So, all right. In that case, then and it looks like, according to YouTube, we have 3 people. So I'm assuming it's myself, Harry, and Dwight. So it looks like it's going to be just us for now until more stragglers start coming in. But let's see about getting that roadbed sort of straightened out, and possibly maybe even adding all right, possibly even adding some initial ground cover. So there we are with how everything is set up. One of the things I am planning on this year is trying to find a better definitely a better way to set up the cameras. Right now it's pretty janky, and also it's hanging off a rail with zip ties and all that. So that's why it's very bouncy, and also with it's also connected to the rear backdrop. So that's annoying in itself. All right, so what we will do here, we'll flip the nice side over. Now the idea is this: we'll have we'll have two abutments over here, a bridge over the canal section itself, which the roof of the covered bridge is being a standby because it's going to be approximately the same length. Have a sort of like excuse me, sort of have like a bent trestle here, then an abutment over here, and then maybe have another trestle bent here and another abutment over here. It looks like actually probably the smart thing to do right now. Let's look at the parts for the bridge. The bridge itself is a Hunterline. It's a Hunterline bridge, which I just happen to realize I don't have the parts in front of me. So I guess that's not going to happen. All right. So, all right. Let's grab some ground foam. Switch this over a little bit. Flip it this way. Don't need that anymore. Now let's start with some initial ground foam. Not anywhere near the yeah, I can't even talk right today, so I'm so sorry. But we'll get there. And then probably should find a way to put this on here. We got to figure out a way on that. And I guess we can practice with this. Sort of estimate exactly how far down we are at. And then we can turn around and that's about the approximate height. So we can come in here and we'll cut away with the closest row. Maybe add a row. I'm not quite sure how this down here. Not quite sure how wavy it is. So it probably might be more advantageous to cut that much down. Go that direction. And one of the things I want to see about this year is also start doing regular videos, not just the live ones. I'm also hoping to make it to Amherst this year again. Probably doing only a day, not both. Since right now I'm sort of at a very strict niche of 19th century railroading, specifically Nacho scale. That's why I wind up just plowing through everything. not really looking at O scale, S scale, and all that stuff. All right, now let's see how far. All right, looks like you got a massive gap over here. And a gap over here. Yeah, it's going to be definitely bring it. Oh, hello there, Digger. Thank you for coming in. Right now, I'm trying to figure out how to add this brickwork on this side. Actually, I just had a really silly idea. I'm not sure if it's going to work. But basically, cut the plastic cloth. And then maybe, sort of like with the prototype, actually bury it underneath. And go from there. Let's try. Let's go with the X-Acto knife. Yeah, I can feel it cut better than the saw. And my idea is, it's basically take these portions here, maybe, have them go underneath between the wood and the plaster. And hopefully that winds up doing things properly. All right, let's try this to finish it off. It's one of the things I was actually thinking of. How was I going to do this? So I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head. So right now it's more of this is sort of winging it. Well, I only know that it's been a week already, but has anyone broken any New Year's resolutions already? I guess it normally takes a whole month at least, but we'd have to say it probably also depends on your convictions. just realized something. Is that there's underneath the plastic cloth is cardboard. So maybe that's what the unevenness of everything is. I'm hitting. That's why it's dropping right about here and here, because that's where the cardboard is. All right, that makes sense now. Now let's see. Can I get this into said groove? Nope. I need a wider groove. How am I going to make a wider groove? All right, let's try it this way. We'll add this thickness and sort of give it a second line to roll onto. All right. Now, can I see this extra line? Just barely. It's also one of those things of just wide enough to go through. We don't break the tip on this. So right now I would have to say things are starting to relatively look up for the new year. Digger didn't even make any to break. Okay, and hello there, Mystic. Thank you for coming in. Right now, trying to figure out a way to add this wall to there. And unfortunately, the camera angle is not going to be nice at all. The idea is, at first I didn't know exactly how I was going to put the wall there, but I have made the decision of making a cut that's wide as the wall and just slide it in there, and some of the lower bricks will be hidden under the ground, but that's, sort of kind of almost like how the prototype is. You won't see every single rock or brick or stone or all right, it looks like there's still, from what I can tell from this position, there's still things over here, gaps over here. let's get more of this away. Yeah, probably. But the thing is that it's the workbench is plastic, so you don't want to go too nuts on it. Yeah, I'm actually picking up some of the cardboard that's underneath, so I'm going underneath. Excuse me. Underneath the plaster. Maybe I have to take off another row. That's what I might have to do. Take off another row and go from there. Because the bottom looks okay to me at this point. But I got one too many rows. Maybe two. It's one of the things I don't want to go too low, because it's easier to cut more off than it is to add on. So let's be very careful. Cut this off. Now I actually have a whole bunch of other of these, so if I don't get it exact, I'm not too worried, but I also don't like wasting things either. So all right, now let's see. What does taking off a single row get me? All right, I want to say that gets me pretty darn close. It's almost on top here, but this seems to be a little high. So we'll take more off of this side. Hey, rail artists. Might wear a mask. Probably. But I want to say my nose is probably so stuffed right now, it's probably acting as a mask. Yeah, I think that's going to be good enough for that. All right. Now the fun part. How am I going to keep this from moving? I mean, these were easy because there's only about 2 bricks long or high. Not quite sure if the stickiness is going to be sticky enough. But some way to find out. Let's see. Brush. It's one of those things, they don't have that many brushes that are not paint brushes. it's supposed to be peel and stick, so I guess we'll peel and stick and see what happens. Oh, that's not good. All the stickiness is going onto the paper, not the brick. So we got to find another way to glue everything on there. All right. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how old these were, but they were definitely curled up. when I bought these, so the adhesive is not where it's supposed to be. Yeah, there's not enough adhesive on this end, so we shall add. That's what I forgot to do today. Buy more glue. Yeah, there's definitely let the glue in. All right, now how am I going to keep this up there? So it wants to peel off. Oh, looks like the 1, 2, 3 blocks might come to the rescue again. Absolutely, rail artist. Keeping the small little pieces around for different other projects. All right, that looks like the 1, 2, 3 blocks are gonna wind up being a good substitution for yeah, it's definitely an awkward place to add weights, because this is sort of almost vertical. It looks like that's going to do for that. Now the top of this has actually a really nice top brick and all that, which unfortunately looks like it might wind up being cut off, but that's the way it is. I want to say the canal portion, I guess, came out decent. I mean, it doesn't look like water, so probably putting a clear glossy coat on top of that probably would work instead of having a matte finish. Let's see. Ooh, that's what I could do right now. Is to add the footpath. Trying to think what would be a good way to basically I'm planning on masking off the footpath, and then doing the normal stuff, keeping the grass relatively flat down here, and then slowly pull up the footpath. So now I'm trying to figure out what can I do for footpaths. Thing is, out pictures I've seen of the towpath during out in the middle of nowhere, basically. There seems to be the actual mud path in the center, and then grass on both sides, and the grass sort of comes right up to the edge. So that was my plan for that, but it's also not really. I also want to say it's not really straight either. Ooh, this is a possibility. This is the backing for these one of these two pieces. So I'm thinking, since it does have some glue on there, unfortunately it's not like a Post-it note, so sort of like move it around a little bit, making sure that it's not complete straight, but not straight. If you sort of understand that, sort of like, so there's a little bit of meandering. Now on the photos I've seen, the they're a little bit more organic, but I think that would just work for now. Hopefully it comes up relatively easy. All right, well, that's that. Let's see if we got for this. All right, can't really do that because the 1, 2, 3 block's a little bit too high. I was gonna do that. All right. So now I got to figure out how to do I want to say almost a quarter trestle that's going to be on this side. My plan is to use bamboo skewers for the trestle side, mainly because I'm not going to, I'm not buying a oh, excuse me. I'm not going to buy a whole trestle to build 1/3 of one. So it just makes more sense to turn around and use the drawings that Hunter Line has and build a couple of bents and go that direction. Because actually, I think I have to build 2 bents here, one for the bridge and one for the trestle. I don't know if they have to be different heftiness, but that's the way I'm probably going to go with that. And the bamboo skewers that I'm using are the same ones that I'm using for the manual switches on the main layout. As you can see, there's the pointed end for the, what you want to skewer. And this is a regular hardwood pole, which wasn't until I actually built everything, realized that I gotta chop the edges off so I can get my fingers around them. Which is a very slow and daunting press, even with the sharp saws that I have. So that will be done off screen. All right. Yeah, I don't really want to put on any scenery yet until I actually get the track built. But yeah, my plans this year is to actually get the layout, which is slightly out of frame. This is part of the layout, but get it actually operational and then go from there and maybe actually show some operations and actually start adding scenery and stuff like that. That was one of the reasons why I was doing the dioramas, was to sort of practice on how I wanted to do scenery, and pretty much go from there. I'm actually thinking it probably might be smart to have like low-lying trees, because since the two halves sort of fit onto each other, got to figure out a way to turn around and get them so when they're put when the one side is twisted and put it together, that a tree doesn't hit the building, and vice versa. So, well, hello there, Grandpa Rails. Thank you for coming in. Same thing with SD. Didn't see you guys. Well, I didn't see you guys come in and all that because I was too busy, not looking at the screen. But for more diorama shenanigans, John from Schuylkill River Valley is doing his thing tonight. And right now, unfortunately, what we're doing now is watching glue dry. But I will be next week probably starting on the bridge abutments, and then possibly even the not sure if I should do the trestle first or do the bridge first, because the bridge I'm practically following directions with modifications, because this is what they call a covered truss bridge, where only the trusses are covered, not the entire bridge, like your standard covered bridge. Like this is the top of the covered bridge I did, but it just covers just the trusses themselves. So that would be interesting, in how that winds up coming through. Because as far as I know, I've never seen anyone do a covered truss bridge. Then again, I don't know if anyone has other setups. But the shadow box that I saw Daryl do gave me the inspiration to do a shadow box style layout. Be a very small one. It'd basically be a rendition of the Angle Nook. In fact, I do have I showed this earlier, but I do have a variation where here's the section for 2 cars, and then this would be the section that would be for excuse me. Basically the quote unquote main track, with a, you can see there's a building set up here. Actually, I don't know if that was in camera range, but there's a station that's here. One side would be the freight side, which would be this side, and then passengers would be on this side. Operation would be basically the train would come in with a combine in the back, giving the basically the stop point of where the train could go, and then it would turn around, and there's two spots for 4 cars basically, and do switching around that way. And then the reason for, or the logic why this was done is because this is coming down a massively steep grade, and this is actually sort of kind of almost hooked up to a dock. Might have a crane here with possibly portions of a dock here where you can actually see that, oh, this is loading going to be loading onto a small lake ship or something like that. So that's the idea behind it. And also the name. I need a mute button. What do I need a mute button for? I'm confused. But Derailed Daryl, thank you for coming in. You inspired me to do a possibly a shadow box layout. As I'm explaining here, this is sort of the track layout, but using maybe a little bit thinner board, a selector plate here, and sort of like make it like a small little British inglenook, and then go from there. Now I was thinking on calling it Less Point, because this would be a point on on a small on a medium-sized lake, enough that requires it ships going between the different ports and all that would actually make sense. And then this would be coming down a very steep hill, and then be able to go that direction and all that. So got to figure out that. And of course pointless is a sort of a pun, because the selector plate gets rid of the points, so there would be a frog here, but there would be no actual points. So that's sort of the pun of the layout name. Oh, I believe technically I have a mute button, but it's too far away. I did not see, did not realize that Dwayne's Superior Junction Railway wound up wandering in. Yes, absolutely. Now this is, although this is the original design, this was originally designed for standard gauge. So my, I would have to, I will change it for broad gauge, and also possibly, and also figure out what kind of cars, locomotives, and everything that I'm planning on. Right now for locomotives, I am planning on, once I figure out how to do it, but basically take the Mantua / Tyco Dixie Bell and broaden the gauge on these. These are, if I understand correctly, these are actually double O gauge instead of HO, but they like double O, they do run on they do run on HO scale track. And the thing is, if you look at this is based off of Sierra number 3, and if you look at Sierra number 3 and the model and all that, it does look like the wheels are too far in. That's why I think they made like the Denver Rio Grande Western, because it's it's a narrow gauge, it's a narrow gauge railway, and it's a narrow supposed to be a narrow gauge locomotive. I don't think it winds up being directly to 3-foot gauge. I forget what the conversion was, but I don't think it's actually 3-foot gauge in 00. But as soon as I figure out how to, well, first I'm going to experiment with this locomotive. This is also a Tyco. A Tyco. I don't think it's Mantua. I think this was actually just Tyco, but it's nicknamed the Teapot. This is going to be the first experiment in widening the gauge, and whatever mistakes I wind up making on this, I can see about correcting them. Maybe not sure if I'll be able to get probably should be able to get a couple. I don't know if I want to get a couple more of these or just keep this one. But it is one of those things of sometimes when you're experimenting over and over and over again, eventually it gets to the point where you probably should scrap and start new. This actually came part of there was a bunch of locomotives and cars and all that. So this originally I was just going to put this aside, but then it's like, hey, wait a minute. I checked out the spacing of the cylinders and all that, and this looks like it might be an actual good candidate to excuse me, sorry, Andy. To see about making it broad gauge. If it winds up being a failure or a success, even if it becomes a failure, I don't have to worry about it because it came in a junk pile. It does run. There is a gear that broke off on this, but the thing is that the way this is set up is that both wheels are drived, and you wind up with a slot in the drive shaft so it doesn't bind up and all that. So I would have to at least make more new side rods on it because the original side rods have slots in them. But that's what the project is, or possible future endeavors of doing that. All right. Well, thank you very much, Daryl. Andy, you said it's HO scale, but the broad gauge, the 6-foot broad gauge is almost S gauge. Yeah, 00 was oversized, so the would fit on time, but yeah, it would also fit on the little layout. For the cars right now, probably be variations of the Congoano models. They had these cute little 25-footers, and also they also make something that you might be interested. Actually, I don't know if they make the bobber boxcar in O scale, but they do make one in HO, which, if you follow the instructions, would be more like this, where it would have the toolbox, because that's how the entire truck is made. You basically get 2 side frames, and then you got to put the wheels together. On this one, I turned around, took a cutter, and took out the maintenance boxes because it doesn't look right with a. This looks more accurate to a 4-wheel boxcar. But all right, time to switch over to this. But I am one of the big things that I want to see about doing this year is actually getting the layout working. Go back to here. Okay, yay, the thing went up to 100%. There we go. All right, well, tonight is the John's John from Schuylkill Valley Railroad is doing Sidetrack Sunday today. Could I take American Flyer engine like the Dockside and put an HO scale boiler and cab on it? I honestly don't know. I never played with American Flyer. My assumption would be no. And here's the reason is that the American Flyer I'm assuming use like Lionel uses the really big, deep, thick flanges, and I'm doing everything in code 55. Even the Dixie Bell and the teapot there, I might have to, I got a lathe and might have to actually trim the flanges on those. So the American Flyer won't work. One, it's out of gauge. I would have to move in. It's about 1 millimeter off, so I'd have to move in the axles in half a millimeter on each side, and then also we'd have to do something with the flanges and all that. So it would, it sounds like a great idea, but it probably won't work. Well, it looks like Daryl has popped in and popped back out, which is okay. But yeah, it's like the HO. Well, I'm calling it W6 because I saw on I saw a debate between O gauge, which is actually 5-foot gauge in O scale, in the Proto 48, and it's one of those things that they called the traditional O scale OW5. So that's why I'm calling it W. There isn't right now an official designation for broad gauge like there is for narrow gauge. It's a small n. My assumption is that making it a HO with a small W6. The funny thing is that when I say HOW6, people are confused. They understand the HO, but then they said W6. What the hell's the W and the 6 stand for? It's like, what does HON3 stand for? It's like, well, it's narrow gauge 3 foot. Same concept of, instead of that, it's wide and 6-foot gauge. Then they're like, oh, okay. It sounds odd because as far as I know, no one has done broad gauge, at least in the U.S. There is the Broad Gauge Society in Britain that does Brunel's 7-foot and 1/4 inch gauge, and I also recently found out that I followed the Delaware and Hudson, and the thing is, they initially started out as the Delaware Hudson Canal Company, which was a 4-foot 3 inches. So it was narrow gauge. But then when they started then they wound up leasing the Albany and Susquehanna, which is the 6-foot broad gauge, from Binghamton to Albany, New York, and that was all 6-foot gauge. And there's pictures showing actually a triple gauge where it has the 4-foot 3, the 8-foot 4-foot 8.5, and then the 6-foot gauge. So it's very interesting seeing all the 3 rails. But I just actually found out that the broad gauge ended around, I want to say 1870s. I don't know. Right now I can't think of the exact date, but the narrow gauge, from my understanding, lasted up until late 1890s. So there was almost a decade that, the narrow gauge survived longer than the broad gauge, which I thought was awful odd, but it's the way they had it all set up. But well, time to get a 10-minute break before John does his thing over at the Schuylkill Valley Railroad. So even though it's a new year, I still think that the world needs more love. So find your passion, add some silliness to it, and spread it around. Happy New Year.